when I work with clients in Shanghai and Hong Kong, often if you could imagine their nervous system or perhaps their stress, yeah,
just different life, very different life.
Yes, and I can connect to that life. I know what it's like being flat out, and I know what it's like being flat out trying to grow your own business or your own passion, and at the same time maybe juggling kids or parents saying, where are the kids? You know, and having juggled all those things, I totally get it.
Yeah.
But we all juggle in slightly different ways, and some of us are juggling balls, some of us are juggling knives. Well, when you're juggling or a juggler, it's nice to meet other jugglers. And it's absolutely irrelevant who's better or not or what people are juggling. It's, hey, there's someone else that does something like me. Today's session is all about using festivals. And for that matter, a couple of other ideas will come up for you. And when I was thinking about this, at first I thought I had a particular line of thinking, but as I prepared a bit of a presentation and had a bit more thought about it, what's possible is so much bigger than we can imagine. So I'm going to share a little bit about festival experience. I was just at a festival performing, and this session is all about for yogis, coaches, artists, be it a martial artist or a paintbrush artist or a vocal artist or a body artist, a qigong artist, whatever field you're in. Can we turn that into something you can do at a festival or something like a festival? And then if you can, well, why on earth would you want to do that? Then there's really good reasons why you would want to do that. There's really good reasons why you want to do it or consider doing it. It can be a completely different lifestyle or a completely different set of opportunities. Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday, and we take questions and answers from the audience, some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions, and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you. Enjoy. Hey, Matan, what country are you from again?
Israel.
Okay. Do they ever have festivals in Israel?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a lot of festivals in Israel, and a lot of them already have content about everything that you just mentioned.
That's universal.
Well, is it universal? Do you have festivals in China?
No, we don't have.
We eat. Yeah, we just eat and cheers.
It's not. There are festivals, but need more. Yes, there are festivals in China, but definitely there's a place for doing more and more. Yeah.
But indeed, yeah, 2 days ago there was very fun dragon boating activities everywhere. Yeah.
Has anyone here been to festivals in Europe? Or been to a festival in Europe?
What is this festival about? I'm from Europe, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. The biggest festival I went to was called Exit Festival in Novi Sad, just north of Belgrade, Serbia.
Oh, Novi Sad, Serbia, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's Yugoslavia. I'm coming from there. And Darko is a neighbor.
Uh-huh. And at this festival in Novi Sad, it was absolutely phenomenal. And there I was in a crowd of maybe a couple of 100,000 people.
Wow. What time of the year is it?
In the middle of the year.
So it's summertime?
Yes, the weather was perfect. The weather was perfect.
Wow.
I'm not a big fan, but Korn was playing. I am a fan, DJ Tiesto, Armin van Buuren, and being in a castle or like around a castle where there's numerous stages and there's castles and there's music going on, you know, 4 a.m. in the morning, like it transforms the whole town. And when you're there, you've got friends from all the neighboring countries. So I was there for a group and we had, I don't know, if there were 30 or 40 of us, there would have been 20 or 30 nationalities present. I'm talking about Albania, Macedonia, every single Yugoslavian country, Germans, French, English, Australians, the whole mix all together.
Wow.
And it's one I will never forget, particularly because I got locked up. But that's another story. That was only for a night. Now, that's one kind of festival. There are many more kinds of festivals. So has anyone else here got a really good festival experience I'd like to briefly share? Well, it could be one up in Haifa.
Well, in Israel, we have a lot of festivals. Yeah, so there are sections. There are festivals which are on the beach, and then you have it's usually 2 to 3 days, and it's incorporate usually camping, and there's a lot of community around it over some of the festivals. Some of them are on the lake, and during the festival, so you have different stages, you have a lot of music involved, and you have a lot of workshops and a lot of activities. Sometimes you also have sections, so section of the lake or section of the beach will be for naturalism, like people who goes nudes, and you have a lot of, you know, like section of volleyballs and other games. And people just cook their own food, or you can buy there, and people, many times they come together. Often you will have in the evening, you will have either a main big bonfire, or you have several bonfire that people just do for themselves. People get to know one another there, and you know, people connect to one another. So a lot of these kind of angel walks, you know.
And even if you don't know anyone, and you go there, what happens when you walk away?
Yeah, you once you go there, you don't want to walk away, but you get a lot of connection. You get a lot of people. You can have, I got a couple of new friends, and yeah,
a lot of sharing.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome, Keely. Thanks for turning your camera on. Thanks for turning your camera on too, Jay. We're going to slowly roll on in, and I want to share. So festivals can vary, and it can be as big as a castle and hundreds of thousands of people, or it can be 10, 20 people, 30 people. But I'm not really talking about 10, 20 people. I'm talking about maybe a couple of hundred people. Just when I was just doing a little searching, I was looking for a couple of pictures of some of the festivals that I was talking about. However, these festivals vary. This is I hope you can see the picture. Yeah. So these are some of the,
make it bigger a little bit. Yeah, we can see it.
So some festivals may look more like this, lots of grass, people walking from stage to stage. Some festivals can look like this, 50 or 100 or 1,000 people around a stage. I'm sure everyone's here has heard of Burning Man Festival. And there's also regional burns. One of the pictures coming up is a regional burn in Australia where, like the Burning Man, it's just a lot smaller in Australia. Typically, as Matan mentioned, a lot of these festivals, you might have the main stage, but there's probably going to be 1, 2, 3 or more main stages, and there's often smaller stages or smaller areas where you can do workshops. So there's a great variety of events. Some are a bit more nature, a bit more connected to nature. As Matan mentioned, well, I heard him mention, in some of the festivals in Australia and Israel, a bunch of people like this would be naked in the lake. Could you imagine that, Claire?
That's cool.
I don't know if any of my Chinese friends could imagine jumping in a lake like that, and it kind of blew my mind. And some of my friends here, they came back from a festival, and you know, they were all like dancing completely naked and starkers, and I'm like, whoa, that's a bit too far for me. What about you, Jay? Maybe not quite this kind of big, but this kind of festival right here, this is generally like one band or one stage. A lot of these other ones will have multiple stages. And let me show you a video or two. Rainbow Surfing is a big one, and I remember there was a big one just north of Israel. This is one of the ones I was at, Townsville Folk Festival, and I'll just give you a little 2-minute introduction to it. So here's a camping ground. Lots of people camp overnight, and you can see on the left side, there's a couple of big tents, and there are some areas where people were doing yoga. Kind of every couple of hours, there would be a yoga session. There were some people that had stalls, and they would have a stall about the size of my office here. And in their stall, they would sell, you know, maybe Reiki crystals, books, or have some massage tables and do massage. You could do coaching there. You could do NLP there. You can do Qigong there. You can get groups together. And we're going to talk about how you can possibly change your individual work to group work, and why I think you should spend tonight considering doing this. So this is one that I was just at. It's probably the video from last year, but this is one I was just at, and I ran a small section here where I gave a couple of workshops on personal development and growth.
I went down and I sat beside the water, and I felt the dawn of the day. 'Cause I make a point to be as serious but wise. There's nothing like the therapy of stepping outside. Boredom's in your mind, so head up, smile for a change. Life I'm living now, essaying going out. Figure out nowhere else to be. Spend this day with me, yeah. Sense reminisce on days of innocence. No need for pressure, relaxed is better. Don't have not been there before. Stress for days, can't take much more. But I'm sure metaphor less to type it. To give it this and that, I'm on to find a way to live it now. Essaying going out. Figure out nowhere else to be. You can spend this day with me, yeah. I need to be, 'cause I'm always where I need to be, 'cause I'm always where I need to be, 'cause I'm
Alrighty, so that's just a little festival that I was at recently. And the thing about this festival, like a lot of festivals, is they wanted people. They wanted people to come. They wanted people to be a part of it. At one point, you might have seen the drummers, and what they did with the drummers, they had an entire recession like of drummers, and just about the whole community got into it, and everyone could play a part. Some of these festivals might be a little stage, and we're not so interested in one stage show. We're talking about festivals that are community oriented, where they want people to get involved. These festivals are a whole new field of possibility for us coaches, yogis, whatever kind of field you're in. The festivals can really open us up, and we can get, we can be on the line up rather than lining in. This one that was just in Townsville here, you can see the schedule. Like, this is like a 3-day one, and it's not huge, but day one, you might see my name on the list. The Saturday, the Sunday, my name's on the list. There are Facebook, all the pictures of the event. Lots of people with little shops. These people with little shops, they pay a couple of thousand RMB to have a little shop. But if you go there as an artist, it's free. Or you go there as an artist and they might even pay you. When you start, you'll be getting a free ticket. But if you get good, they can actually pay you to come along to the festivals, and you can get invitations to more and more festivals. But even if you don't, just being on the lineup can give you a bit of credit. So how would it be if your name was on the lineup? Not many people do this, but in Europe, they have like festival season. It's all summer long. What if you were to go to Serbia, take part in a festival, and instead of, going and paying, $100, $200 as a ticket, what if you were to go and do a yoga workshop, a Qigong workshop, a mental health workshop, mental well-being workshop? Or what if you were to get on stage? Do we have any NLP coaches in here? NLP, who's NLP trained? Jade, okay. One of the main creators of NLP, Richard Bandler, he is a freaking comedian. If you had combined NLP and comedy, you could be on the stage and be a comedian. You could do a little comedy show and combine personal development with comedy. And hey, I imagine the first show would be a little bit so-so, but if you did it with 4 or 5 or 10 friends, then maybe you could do it with 30 friends, and then maybe you can do it as a festival. And if you do it a few times, you gain in popularity. You get a little YouTube video if you're doing your show in front of 30 people. And then say you're going to Exit Festival Novi Sad, Serbia, or one of these festivals in, in France or the Netherlands. You could write to them in advance, say, hey, I want to perform. Heaps of artists and people already do this. So then you go and nobody, but instead of paying $100 for a ticket, you're going to go and you're going to get on stage and perform. However you make your performance, we'll talk about that soon. So then you perform, and instead of going in front of 30 people, you're now in front of 300 people. Yeah? Or if you want, okay, say 100 people. So you go up from performing in front of, 5 friends to 10 friends to 30 friends, suddenly 100, or a couple of 100 people, get video of that. And now there's a video reel of you performing in front of hundreds of people. So you have fun at the festival, and then go on to the next one, the next one, the next one, and you can go from festival to festival to festival to festival as a performer, getting bigger and bigger and better at your work, be it as a NLP comedian or a Qigong person or a yoga person. Just a little idea. A few more ideas coming up. So rather than being in line, you can be in the lineup. While you're there, you get to connect with all the organizers, the movers, the shakers, the actors, the performers, the musicians. Last year when I went, I was surrounded. I was actually with the musicians this year I was at the families, and when I did my show, and when I did my second show this year, I actually brought one of the musicians with me, and one of the musicians played. So during my little performance, I had one of the most popular musicians in town performing with me. You get exposure before, during, and after the festival. There were some people that came up to me at the festival saying, "Hey, Adrian, we saw you're on the lineup. We couldn't come to your session, but tell me about it." People actually saw my name and then came up going, "Oh, you're here. What have you been doing?" You know, so you can get great exposure before, during, and after the festival. But for me in this last festival, it was actually more about the opportunity to give back or pay it forward, and the opportunity to connect. I wanted to connect more to people in my community here. So I thought, stuff it, I'll do it for free. I'll give a few hours. I'll spend a few hours figuring out what I'm going to do. And now if I want to, every year I can go back to the festival, put on a show. And if I get better at it and put in the energy, I can end up becoming more of a main stage rather than out the back there. So to be honest, which I always am, and I love you guys and that we can be honest, I was featured at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Who the hell comes at 8 o'clock in the morning? Well, people did come, but they didn't know no one had seen my performances there before. So this year that I was at 8 o'clock, next year, maybe in the middle of the day. Either way, I got a free ticket. I got to connect with a pile of people. I had a great time. People came up to me during the festival. And from this, I've got a whole pile of people that are interested in doing work and collaborations. The festivals are common all around the world. So from Novi Sad, you can get going and you can actually make a tour. The first page I had up, the internet page, they have like 30 festivals in there. So you can actually make a habit of going from festival to festival to festival. Or you could just do one festival. With the festivals being annual events, generally each year, the festivals get a bit bigger, a bit better, and a bit further away from their roots. Some people complain about that. Some people are like, "Oh, this festival was better when it started." When the festivals start, they're generally small and get bigger and bigger. But being annual events, you can plan a whole year in advance. If you're going to go to Europe next summer, you could plan a couple of festivals, submit your entry, your desire to go on, submit it 6 months early, and you can actually line yourself up with a couple of free tickets and a few free events across Europe. I thought that's pretty cool. And while you're doing it, you know, taking your work on the road, you can actually, depending on the internet at festivals often drops out, or you know, maybe there'll be some better solution, but you can actually get people at the festival to add you right there and then. You know, follow my channel, put up your QR code, and you know, if people like your work, you can collect followers, fans, students, or clients as you go along. I'm not a big fan of trying to make cash flow from it. I think cash is a bit of a side effect. Cash is a side effect of creating value. However, you can make cash flow. A friend of mine was selling, you know, Reiki crystals and psychic work. And of course, I could have partnered with her, but you can actually make solid cash flow delivering your services at events or the lead generation. The amount of fans, followers, students, and clients you make from it can fill up your schedule. It doesn't take that much to fill up your schedule as a coach. That's why I think festivals are a little untapped gold mine. And then from festivals, we can do collaborations with other people there. You know, for my NLP, sometimes when I talk with an audience, it's not super engaging, yet a comedian is. Or if I combine my work with an artist. Like the last one, I was doing a bit of a somatic process in the morning. A somatic process, getting everyone grounded. And behind me, there was a musician with a handpan. Yeah? And halfway through, we had a break, and he switched handpan and got the flute. Absolutely beautiful. Obviously, the festivals open you up to more coaching clients. But as I mentioned, you can go up and go from smaller groups or stages up to bigger stages, and also corporate training. At these festivals, there's a lot of people that actually have corporate jobs and they're on holiday. So perhaps part of your network will like you, will like your work, become part, and it sets you up to do corporate training. If you can do a successful event at a festival where you have very little idea, corporate training is a breeze. So is it clear why festivals can be phenomenally excellent for us? But you might be thinking how. We'll get to the how in a few minutes. That everyone's on track. You know, we can do a lot with festivals, meet a lot of people, can have a lot of fun. And what's the cost? What's the cost? So you got to register in advance. You got to come up with your gig, your event, your act. Yeah, email them, you know, organize it, come up with your act, maybe promote your act a little bit, or get to the event and do your act and have a few days where you enjoy and perform and build that list of clients and go home. It's not that much work, is it? And Matan and Darko here, and Jenny, they've done plenty of virtual events. And I think Matan's done a lot of real life face-to-face events as well. So to get it from, you know, from Zoom or from your town out to a festival, yeah, it does take a bit of work, but really it just takes thinking outside the box.
Adrian, obviously you have had great experiences with the festivals around your world. So question for you, during your time in China, were there any type of such festival you experienced by yourself here with a similar effect?
Hey, Kathy, thank you for saying that. Yes. Yes.
Oh.
But they weren't always called festivals.
So for example, anyone from Shanghai you enjoyed, and there were something similar?
Yeah, there are. Hey, Matan, do you have a couple of examples that you've experienced in China? And Jay,
Yeah.
if you want to in Shenzhen?
I participate in a Kunming. There was a music festival. They have like a whole land in Kunming, and they used to do it every year. So you had a music festival and everything, and then I did a couple of workshops there. This is more like nature festival. There is the festival that I made in Beijing, like at the beginning of the month, but that was more kind of like indoor, where you have a lot of speakers and content about different topics. They are in Beijing. There are a lot of, or used to be a lot pre-COVID, rave festivals that also had like in the mountains. So it's about, because of the nature of these festivals, sometimes they are not widely promoted. So often they are very specific, generic of music, and then the workshop and everything else is kind of like on the side. Therefore, you might not be aware of these festivals, but they are. At least they have been like a lot more pre-COVID.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy, I've spent a fair bit of time in Kunming and I haven't seen that. So like, that just emphasizes
next time we need to be informed upfront and we need to be there.
Yeah, and I imagine once you go once, you're going to get a group of people, you know, maybe a couple of WeChat.
Yeah, you will be in there, in the circle, yeah.
In the circle, yeah. And then from one, the doors open. So a possible starting place could be anyone as a participant.
Yep.
Jay, did you have one or two experiences, anything like that in Shenzhen? Or Australia? Oh, it's on mute.
He's on mute.
Yeah, he still can't hear you, Jay. He's saying you went to the Mardi Gras in Sydney. No. No, still can't hear Jay. Okay, I'll get Jay to share in a minute if it works. Just pause. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I'll let you know when you hear Jay. Jay's in Brisbane. When you get to Australia, Brisbane's like the 3rd biggest city. And where I am is a really small city. Now, for Shanghai, we used to do something near Xintiandi. There was a street market. And this street market was like a little festival. So a street market, there's a couple of annual street markets. I can't remember the name of the street, but from Xintiandi, it's like 2 blocks north than west. But COVID has messed it up a bit. But there's also Bar Camp, BAR Camp. And Bar Camp for me was a major thing. Bar Camp for me was big. It was like my first couple of months in Shanghai. I was at this event called Bar Camp, and Bar Camp has maybe 15 rooms, and anyone can take a room and share. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was FOB, fresh off the boat. I think it was FOB from Japan or somewhere. And I was just in Shanghai. It was like my 2nd week, and I just went along because I heard of Bar Camp in America, but Bar Camp in Shanghai. So all these different rooms, people speaking, and one of them had a coach, Brian Tam. So Brian Tam was giving a talk about coaching. And I could tell for Brian, it was largely about getting his confidence up, learning and sharing his confidence. But it was great. And watching Brian inspired me. Watching Brian share as a coach inspired me. Brian worked with Rev Training in Shanghai, one of the oldest coaching training establishments in Shanghai, just run by Jeff Tan. Brian worked there. He left there. A few years later, I was a TEDx host, and I got to welcome Brian to the stage. I think it was his 2nd or 3rd TEDx. It was my 2nd or 3rd as well. So from Bar Camp, the next year I spoke in Bar Camp, and then Brian and I would maybe speak at different ends. It didn't make a difference. Some of our crew, some of our coaches, some of the people we were training with back in 2013, 14, 15, we would just jump into a room and make up a topic. And, we were training NLP. At the time, we were training NLP and coaches. So there you go, a decade ago, training NLP and coaches in Shanghai. And we would challenge each other. Yeah. So we would all go, one time we had Margarita Lukavenko speak, then Aaron speak, then I spoke. All 3 of us spoke after each other in the same room. So the room just got full of energy. And then, one did it, then the other did it, and the other did it. It was phenomenally cool. And it just gave us a lot of confidence and a lot of know-how, but we had to adjust things. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. You have to adjust things, for the room and whatnot. So although we're saying festivals, be aware there are lots of other events where you can kind of employ this strategy. And guys, these strategies are critically important, especially if you're on social media. There's probably this many coaches making it financially and this many coaches trying to sell to them. There are so many people on social media going, oh, we'll help you make 6 figures, or we'll help you make your money, or a business coach for heart-centered coaches. There's so much scams and crap out there. If you do want to do any of that, do it with Dino. He's more of the real deal, right? But a lot of coaches are saying to make it successful, to be big in the coaching world, you got to be doing all this social media. You got to be out on camera. That's a furphy. You don't. Many of the most successful coaches I know don't do much marketing. If I don't do any marketing, I'm still going to have clients. So anyway, festivals are a whole new way of doing marketing, and it can be a whole new way to do things, which can be more enjoyable. Either way, it's definitely worth looking at, and we'll share a bit more about it. You there, Jay? How's the sound now?
I'm on my phone. I'm sorry, my computer collapsed. Yeah, the joy of technology. Yeah, Adrian, I was just going to say, in Shenzhen, I attended Health and Wellbeing Festival in the Shenzhen Civic Centre, a number of other events, and of course, there's always a venue where you can book a stall and have a presence. And yeah, in China, definitely there is opportunity. And what I was saying is that here, where I'm living currently in southeast Queensland in Australia, there's probably some sort of festival in this local region during the summertime, probably every 2 or 3 weeks there's a festival. And I'd never thought about actually attending one of them and doing a presentation. And it's something that I'm just going, oh, wow, why didn't I think of that? So it's amazing. It's a great opportunity.
Thanks for sharing that, Jay. And Jay, when I went to those ones around Brisbane, I never thought of it either.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Now, I mentioned this lady here, Lisa McInnes. Lisa Speaks. You can check her out if you want, but no real point. I'll share with you why. This lady is a little example. This lady here, Lisa, transformational coach. Look at her in this audience here. Obviously, it's a Photoshop thing, but she's a real deal. I met her at a workshop that she was doing in Sydney 8 or so years ago. And she's a coach, she's transformation, she works with the big names, she trains in corporations, and I met her when she was presenting. It was actually one of these seminars, a little different from a festival, but perhaps it could work. It was a seminar, there's a big stage, and there was a speaker on the stage, and the speaker was talking for like 2 days about property. And he also invited maybe 10 other speakers to come up and talk during 2-3 days. And Lisa was one of them. And Lisa just talked about mindset. She just talked about mindset. She was great. She shared a story. It was moving. Lisa's had practice. She's been doing it for 20 years. She's gone from stage to stage to stage to stage to stage. She's one of the top speakers in Australia. While I saw her there, I went up afterwards and I bought this book from her. It's all about kids. It's just like a kid's book, goal setting and stuff for kids. We bought a book. We bought a CD. Maybe a couple hundred kwai buying her things because we just loved them. We loved her. So we bought a few of these. She sold a pile of this kind of stuff. You know, you could sell your own book. Have your own meditation CDs. You could sell your own little things and, you know, you could do it. So I'll never forget this lady. There was 10 other speakers. I don't remember any of them. Well, not really. But I won't forget her because I've got a book at home. And my kids do it. Yeah, so I can't forget her. So now you see this lady, you know, and she's like, boom, in front of big audiences, getting booked solid, heading into retirement with no need to do any kind of marketing. Opportunities come for her. So you're not her. You've got to start where you're at. And maybe it's at a bar camp. Maybe it's with 20 or 30 people. But for those living in cities like Shanghai or Brisbane, there's a lot of opportunities there. Health and wellness groups, and WeChat is full of health and wellness groups. Kunming, Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, they have their own groups with, you know, hundreds of people. Consider going. Maybe go as a participant first. Maybe, but it can take you a long way. Couple other little things to consider. So if you get to a festival or something, maybe you get to share with the people that watch you. But maybe while you're there, you get to coach people or work deeply with people. You know, you can give demo sessions. You can actually give sessions, or you can give discount sessions. So, you know, sessions with me cost 2,000 kwai, but for the following 2 days, anyone can book me for 500 kwai. Yeah. 2,000 kwai a session, but if you book me and see me in the next 2-3 days at the festival, 500 kwai. Guaranteed. If you're not happy, get your money back. Another thing is creating a list. People that come, people that talk with you, get their details so you can add them. Have a little flyer, you know, have a little flyer, a little takeaway thing where you can give your services and give it to them. But there's a lot more I'm sure you can come up with.
I have one question, Adrian.
Yes, and then if anyone else wants to, that'll be a good time. In a minute, we'll get into the how we're going to do it. Yeah, Tad?
Yeah, so you said this discount topic. So you would never do that for free, right? It's not a good idea to offer sessions for free. I think it's a better idea just to offer a discount, because if the people see that they have to pay, they also see a different value behind.
Yeah, I much prefer, and my approach would be 2,000 kwai per session, but 500 kwai during the festival. But I'll tell you what, if anyone wants to book a session and we do the session in the next month, 500 kwai. So if people pay 500 kwai, they're going to take the session more seriously. If we give too much away for free, as Tad's right on, if you give too much away for free, people don't value it. It's like a throwaway. Business cards get thrown away all the time. Business cards, they get thrown away.
Adrian, can I?
Yep.
Yeah, I have questions to ask. The thing is, I figured if you give anything for free, then the whole thing is a waste. It doesn't have it can't be valuable at all, because the other people is not in the right mindset, not at all. You can't give it.
That's the key.
Even though you can.
That's the key, the right mindset.
Yeah.
So money is a way to get them in the right mindset. We have to.
Yeah.
They're going to be a lot more receptive in the right mindset, and paying half price or paying some amount of money, not 5 kwai. That's just a joke. Yeah.
No.
For me, with my work, 100 kwai is a joke, but still 100 kwai, they'll get a better result than 0. 100 kwai is a bit of a joke, but money helps them get in the right mindset. And you can do your work for free sometimes, but we want to try to avoid doing it for free.
Yeah, I also find like you can find other ways to do it for free. Like if you go public, you spread to everyone and to show your value, and then you talk to persons, like personally. It's chargeable, you know. It's you have to charge, but you have to show yourself, because if they don't know what you are capable of, then you can't just get anything started. That's what I try to figure out. So I want to talk to you about it.
That's right, Claire. And if we're using social media, and like, you know, you're on your computer and you're on social media,
I'm doing
how many appointments can you get in a day? How many people can you actually engage with in a two-way conversation in a day? But if you're at a festival, you're going to be having two-way conversations everywhere. You're going to be able to have so many two-way conversations. You're going to be able to invite people, and you can listen and talk and hear where they're at, and then say, hey, you know what? I've got some slots open today. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. And if you want, I'm here for 2 days. You know, and on here it says your services or whatever you want, little marketing thing, you know. So you talk to a lot of people, hear what they have, and if they seem like a potential client. So yeah, there's times in people's life. There's times in people's life when they're unemployed and they have no money, and I can help those people and work with those people. If there's someone who's constantly repeating the cycle or repeatedly in victim, they're not generally my client. I'll pass them across to a therapist or to one of our other clients, right? But if I meet someone who's juggling a family, a business, their own goals, their own ambitions, or a Chinese girl, 30, 40 years old, working for a foreign company and struggling to get up through the glass ceiling, I've nailed that to a T. So if I meet those kinds of people, I can have a brief chat with them. I can give them a flyer, I can give them a session. It's going to blow their mind, and they're going to want coaching. And then if they don't want coaching with me, I'll get them to a point where I'll be like, here, meet my guy, Darko. They can't afford me, I'll introduce them to Darko. But we have to be selective with who we give our sessions to. And festivals are such a great way to find the people that are right for you. And the people that are right for you, you can invite them for a session, 75% off, 80% off at the festival, 80% off. If you want to do it in the next 2 weeks when you get back, half price, otherwise $2,000 quite. Something like that. But remember, it's not about getting the money, it's about getting them in the right mindset. And money is a way to get them in the right mindset. I have had people that have taken free sessions very seriously. There are other ways to get people in the right mindset besides money, but money makes it easier. It's a sign of commitment. If we can move on from the money thing, because we do other workshops on money. When it comes to delivering a workshop or planning it, PPP. I don't know what that is, the PPP. Prior planning prevents, oh, there's a lot more P's than that. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. So we got to plan. Yeah, that's like 6 P's, I think. So prior planning prevents poor performance, right? And this is a bit of a paradox because we want to plan, but we've got to be open. If you're talking about a festival or a street market or a bar camp, we often don't know what it's going to be like there. We don't know how many people are going to be there. Sometimes you might not even know where or when you're going to speak. So we need to have our prior planning, but we need to be really open. Yeah, open and flexible. If you're not someone that's flexible, and if you're not someone who's high on the flexibility, festivals might be in the too hard basket. Flexibility and being open is extremely important for spontaneous creative work. With our planning, consider our senses. How many senses do we have? How many senses?
5.
Anybody want to challenge that? 6 senses. Well, science has told us we've had 5 for a long time. Science has been telling us we've got 5. We got 6, maybe more. So anyway, we got our visual, we got our ears, our auditory, our kinesthetics, touch, yeah, olfactory and gustatory, smell and taste. We want to use as many of the senses as we can and consider this in our planning. We don't want to show which is all visual. We don't want to show that's all auditory. We want to mix them up. Now we're going to start with the V, the visual. If you're doing some kind of festival performance, group yoga classes, now you might just be able to use yoga mats. That's good. So we're doing a yoga class. We just have yoga mats. Okay, so imagine we just have yoga mats. We get down there. That's great on the flexibility side of the house. We just have people lying on yoga mats. Done. Can you make that better? Yeah, we can make it better. We want more than just yoga mats on the floor. What about signs or banners? What about a banner with pictures of happy clients? And when you perform or when you do your yoga, there's a big collage of clients and that. And then when you finish, you lead it up. So you do your yoga, you do your qigong, whatever it is at 12 o'clock, but there's a big poster of your work. Or maybe there's a poster up and it says, here at 12 p.m., qigong. And then when you finish your class, you take down that poster of Qigong and you put up your other sign, client flyers. Think about business cards, flyers. What about a QR or a subscribe button so people can subscribe on the spot? So before your yoga or Qigong class starts, hey everyone, just before we start our class, this class is completely free to all you beautiful people. All I ask is, could you please scan the QR code? Scan and like our page. Easy. The little thing is a hypnosis wheel. For anyone doing hypnosis wheel is a big wheel. It's got like these black and white lines on it, and you spin the wheel and everyone trances out on it. Another way is you have the chakra lights. There was a lady who had like a traffic light system, and she had 7 different chakra lights. And when she was talking about yoga, she was turning on the lights and showing people and explaining things and actually using the lights to, yeah. What can you do to make your visual more engaging? So if you're like me, I originally thought, okay, well, I'll just do Qigong and all I need is me. All I need is me. Well, that's all I need. But if I put up a picture of a human body, it's more engaging straight away. If I have some material explaining Qigong or the history of Qigong, anything that I can put up, well, hey, imagine it. Imagine if I'm doing Qigong and it's just me. Or I'm doing Qigong and I have these pictures, the history of Qigong. Some of my other Qigong clients. Which person is more professional? Which client gets paid more money? The coach that has the signs up at the back? Or the coach that's just there freewheeling it with just themselves? Someone just doing Qigong by themselves, or Qigong and they have signs at the back about what is Qigong, clients, how we work with people, the benefits of Qigong. Which one earns more money? Which one gets more success? It's obvious, right? So adding more visual elements help you look more professional, earn more money, do a better job, engage more people, and before and after your performance, people can come back and read that stuff. Guys, do feel free to ask questions or write them down. Matan, how do you catalog other senses such as time? Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm only focused on the senses that connect directly to our nervous system. However, NLP generally has those ones, VACOG, and one more, the vestibular system, right between the ears, the vestibular system, so you can tell forward and backwards. Yeah, we could have a whole pile more senses. So if we get more visual aids and come up with more visual aids, it'll be a lot more interesting. It'll keep more people engaged. It means that if your performance is 30 minutes, you may be able to have flyers up, banners up, signs up, maybe for the whole day or for a couple of days. Bring you a lot more attention. If you're doing a 12 p.m. Qigong, but you have signs up about the history of Qigong and they're up there all weekend, and you've got your QR code or your Facebook or YouTube code up there, you can get followers, people that are interested in Qigong, they'll add you all weekend, even though you're only on at 12 o'clock. You go to a festival where there's like 5,000 people and there's signs up about Qigong and you're the only person there doing Qigong and they can follow you, can be a great way to grow a business and grow some followers. Then from visual, if we tap into the next dominant sense, sound, why don't you use it? You can do it by yourself, but get a microphone or a headset. I would actually suggest a BYO, bring your own headset. Here's a little headset thing I use. One just clips on. One you can just clip on. The other one you can plug into a speaker, or you can plug into a camera. Plug into a camera. There's all kinds of little devices like this. Typically have a microphone, just plug on. Or you could go a bit further, get yourself one of these Gucci things. And even, now remember, you want to be prepared and flexible. Prepared and flexible. So little travel kit, one of these things, something like that. Maybe even a microphone. In China, there's a lot of microphones you get like this big, and you'll have a headset and they allow you to be louder. Maybe one on to broadcast, maybe another one to record the sound for the camera. You want to record your events, help you broadcast it. I would suggest have your own as a backup, because the last thing you want is to have a crazy festival where people are running around trying to organize things and you're there performing and the microphone's playing up or not working. Have your own. Music is excellent. Be aware, a lot of people will use the latest music. I think whoever sings that Raw song, Raw, 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 it's used by so many people. The festival I was at, there was a music teacher, and the music teacher used the Ghostbusters theme song. She used a few theme songs. When she used Ghostbusters, everyone, whoosh, whoa, what are they doing? You know, and these people were dancing, but the fact that they had the Ghostbusters theme song, it had everyone. Not just that, how old were you when you watched that movie? How old were you when you watched Ghostbusters? Now, this does a bit of age regression. You might go back and suddenly you feel, yay, you feel like a child again. You feel 20 years younger. You feel like a child again. So using old, very popular music soundtracks is a bit better than using Katy Perry. But maybe you want to use Katy Perry. It's up to you. I would personally love to have like a harmonica or a flute playing. But if I have harmonica and a flute playing, that might not fit the vibe. Might not fit the vibe. And your goal at the festival isn't to get people onto your vibe. The goal is to create an unforgettable experience. Moving experiences, to move them. Give them something they won't forget. Or get their details so they can do it later. So consider using music and stuff and customizing your workshop for them. Depending where you're at. If it's a music festival, why not collaborate with real life musicians? It's a bit hard to plan, especially for musicians. Musicians often have a sense, an interesting sense of time. I'm sure Matan knows, an interesting sense of time for musicians. And a question, a quick one. Does anyone else have an idea or like to share how to increase the effects of a workshop using visual or sound? Yep, Jay. I'm glad your sound's working now, Jay.
Oh, I'm back on the computer now. It's fixed itself. Yeah, one of the thing that I've discovered, the theme is you've got to connect with people's emotions, and that sort of requires a little bit of looking at what the audience might be. And I saw something recently where in Australia there's a dance that people do to music. Oh, it's just got off my head. The singer who just died recently, it's really popular. And I've seen that used where everybody just stands up and starts doing this, not the bus stop, oh goodness, and it gets people connecting. And even though the subject you're talking about is not, it's immediately the familiarity with what Tony Robbins does. He gets you active, and then easy access. So activity and emotion, those are the two things. And I think music allows the more closely connect to emotion for most people.
Yeah, if you get to go to a Tony Robbins, whether you're a fan or not, Tony Robbins events are a great example, are an absolutely great, phenomenal example on how to work with an audience. And he's actually kind of maybe doing personal development, also doing sometimes spiritual stuff. I was quite surprised to have a spiritual experience at a Tony Robbins event. It was a 5-day event. It's up here for one of the very high spiritual kind of experience I had at one of those events. Tony Robbins, the way he uses music, yeah. But now Tony Robbins doesn't do it all himself. You know, he's got professional musicians, sound guys that go with him, but they really use the music in a particular song. You know, particular songs they will repeat over and over again. We call that anchoring, which we're going to come up with in a minute. We'll get to anchoring in a minute. So we've got to consider how we can use kinesthetics, taste and smell as well. Perhaps, maybe not, maybe. The festival I went to last night, we actually walked into this big festival tent. It smelled terrible. If we didn't pay for the tickets, we might have left. So obviously you want to make sure the place you're working smells good. But a more important thing is, how can you get people moving, whether it be Nutbush, city limits? How do you actually get people moving, or maybe moving and introducing each other and, you know, high-fiving their neighbors? Tony Robbins events will have a lot of high-fiving neighbors, like everyone goes like this and they high-five each other, back massages. So there's a lot of connection between the people. But you can actually get people walking forward as well. And this is one of the processes I like. When we actually get to the workshop itself, how do we turn individual processes into group processes, or group classes, group experiences? Tony Robbins is actually one of the masters in this, because he has a process he uses for the individual, but he uses the process for an individual. He does it with 2,000 people. And the way he does it with 2,000 people is he cranks up the visual, he cranks up the auditory, he cranks down the air conditioning so it's really cold, but he'll get the people clapping, rubbing each other's shoulders. Tony Robbins experiences, they're full of these anchors. I haven't done it right here, but you see Darko, Matan, Claire, they've been in the whole spot the whole time. What a speaker can do is good speakers may speak. Brief demo here. Just watch where I stand and how I talk, okay? A long time ago, I remember I was reading NLP books, reading Tony Robbins books, and reading Eckhart Tolle by myself. I remember how powerful it was, how powerful it is to meditate. You know, I won't forget sitting at my sister's house for a month or two in between world travels, sitting on a cushion meditating, you know. I may have had some post-traumatic stress, some issues, but I was sitting at my sister's house and meditating by myself over and over again. And I spoke to my friends about meditation and Eckhart Tolle and the power of the mind and being still, and none of them got it. And they were all saying it was so hard. Yet when I came to Shanghai, and that's why I came to Shanghai, is I started to do these workshops. I actually had a group called Shanghai Mindfulness, or Mindfulness Shanghai and Motivate Shanghai. Mindfulness Shanghai got taken over by this gentleman, Brandon, and wasn't that mindful. But anyway, in Shanghai, I was able to share with you guys. I was able to share my passion. I was able to share personal development and connect with and share ideas. And next month, I think Matan's going to speak. Last month, Darko spoke. We would have a pile of people sharing and caring. And this means that the more we can get together in our communities and share, the more we can actually make a difference in this world. So do you want to be someone that makes a difference and makes impact in the world? Or, do you want to be like reading books by yourself and doing all this meditation stuff by yourself? I know what it's like. I know what it's like. And I found this wonderful community. It's got people together. Got people together. And it's not about me. This is much bigger than all of us put together. This is about like changing the world. This is where I play that Michael Jackson song. Heal the world, make it a better place for my Ton and Jay and the entire human race. Claire wants to sing out loud, and Jenny will back up the chords with Keely and Kathy. Heal the world. No, sorry, a bit carried away there. Okay, so what did you notice? Besides Darko and Jay, what else did you notice? Claire, Keely, or Kathy? What did you notice then? There's a little story. Claire's like, where's the mute button? Quick, close down Taobao.
Hello. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you not hear me? Yeah. I noticed that when you are in the middle, when you are standing in the middle, you are saying something positive, and you're more excited. You are more opening. When you are by the side and a little bit further, you are about recalling, emotional, a bit. What do you call? Yeah, like reflecting. That's what I found.
Cool. Right on. And there's a bit more. You're right on. You're right. And the thing is, when you actually watch someone perform, there is so much to see. And sometimes it's not seeing, it's hearing or feeling. And sometimes it's not hearing and feeling, but it's sensing inside. There's actually way too much for the conscious mind. Okay, what did someone else notice? There were 3 distinct separations. Someone else want to have a guess?
Yeah, so when you moved back away, you had your head down. You weren't actually connecting with the people looking. So it became a little while, you'd listen, and then you sort of started to lose willingness to sort of try and listen. It was sort of like the audience. I started finding myself switching off.
Yeah, this position, I was in my own head, and I was in the past. And this is me meditating by myself. And now, if this was a bigger stage, or even for a camera, right? This is where I stand when I talk about my past or your past. Because can you remember a time when you've wanted to share meditation, mindfulness with your friends, and they haven't got it, and you've been by yourself meditating or going to a workshop? You've been there before, right? So this is where we talk about the past, and this is where we talk about the current, right now. Yeah. And with the current, we've also got the community. So my body language changed, but not so much the body language, right? The first thing was I've got 3 spaces: past, present, and the third space out here. So 3 different spaces, spatial anchoring. Future, heal the world, current, community, past, by myself, by yourself. And I hope for you, if I went on longer, you would also naturally and unconsciously, you pick it up. Your unconscious picks up. Oh, that's the past Adrian in his own head. Maybe that's the past me. Now we're talking and we're present. And now we're in the future, here in the world. So spatial anchoring is pretty much all stage sellers and speakers learn. We use it in a lot of our advanced NLP. We use it so much. And with the spatial anchors, we had the visual anchors. You know, you saw me with my shoulders over, and you might have heard my voice change. So anchoring is incredibly important when we're performing on the stage, on Zoom, and it's vital when we're doing a bigger workshop in a live workshop. Anchoring can go through stories, anchoring can go through presentations, and we can actually move audiences through anchors. Now, you all saw that past, present, community, heal the world. For the NLP coaches and inner mind workers, with our audience, we can actually have our audience, if they're standing up, if our audience is standing up and moving around, or chairs, we can actually have our audience stand in places. We can have the whole crowd move to the right, move back to the center, move to the left. My last one, I had a circle and I had multiple spatial anchors. I had coach, centered, open, aware, connected, holding, dream. Everyone, small group would stand on their dream. And once they got on their dream, they thought about what they really wanted in life. Then the objection came up. Objections come up automatically. So I got everyone to stand here and think about their dream. And as the objections started to rise, maybe 30 seconds later, I started to see people. They're like, yeah, dream. And then after about 30 seconds, people were like, so I moved them over here. And then I went through coach, centered, open, aware, connected, holding the space, got everyone really feeling good. And we stepped back into the dream. Yeah. So using spatial anchors can move 5, 10, 15, 20 people. But if we're talking more like 200 people or more than 20, can get a bit hard using that kind of spatial anchoring. But we use spatial anchors on the stage ourselves. So some processes, like the one I just used, is a rather simple process where people think about their dream or what they really want to create. When you think about your goal or your dream, you can think about it. Generally, about 30 seconds later, sometimes quicker, there will be a but. What's your dream? Oh, I want to make a lot of money, but I don't have a job, or but I don't know how, but I don't something. So the NLP process we have is, what's the dream? 30 seconds later, what's the obstacle? Get the client into a really, really high coach state. Maybe using Qigong or some mindful movement or breath work. Different people have a variety of ways to do it, but get them into a really good state and then bring them back to the dream. Or from that really good state, crush the obstacles, the objections, or turn the obstacles and objections into resources. I'll do that in a conversation with my client. how can I do that with a group of people at a festival? That is the big thing that you'll have to figure out. How can you turn your work into something suitable for 20, 30, 40 people? Most work has anchors through it. But unless your teacher is really sharp, they're often not fully aware of the anchors, and they might not even call them anchors. So how can you make your work into a workshop? You'll have to figure that out yourself, or get with some of our guys and discuss it. I wrote something here, chaining anchors. When you have a process where people walk through, or you have a anchor for the past, an anchor for the present, an anchor for the future, what you can do is you can start to run people through. Dunk, 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 dunk. You run people through a few times and it chains the anchors together. Chaining the anchors together is a really good process. If you are speaking on stage like a comedian or telling stories, you can do the same thing in that way. Tell a story 1, tell a story 2, tell a story 3. Again, tell story 1, tell story 2, tell story 3. Repeat it a few times. It chains them together in their mind. You can do repetition. Repeat them in multiple representation systems. Repeat it using the visual, repeat it in auditory, or do it with visual and auditory and smell maybe, and use all the rep systems, not just one. Little thing for you guys. If you're going to get to this point, what you want to do is you want to mentally rehearse different scenarios. Mentally rehearse or do lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming would be my favorite. For 1, 2, 3 weeks before the event, lucid dream, lucid dream, lucid dream. If you want to talk about lucid dreaming, talk about it another time. Lucid dreaming is an incredible tool. Incredible tool. It doesn't take too much to get good at it. You don't have to remember all the dreams, but if you can remember, especially the lucid ones, it'll help you feel better consciously. But if you're doing a performance, it's 1 hour and you do lucid dreaming on it for 1 week or 2 weeks, you're going to be able to handle that event so much better. You're going to be able to handle all the different things that come up. Test run. You want to test run what you're doing with a couple of volunteers. Run it with your friends. I mentioned at the bar camp, a couple of us would do it. And then when it came to the actual event, we would have our friends in the front row. As I mentioned, consider how to boost each element or each part of the act or each sense. Figure out how you can boost them. How can we make it even stronger? If you're performing at nighttime, use colors, use lights, use different color lights, use sounds, use sound effects. Yeah. Go watch a variety of shows and watch completely different shows so that the ideas can merge. One of my favorite authors about 15 years ago was Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss spoke about reading fiction. When you read fiction, as in like science fiction, it can give you a lot of new ideas. Of course, you want to watch and support other acts, and some of those guys will come to you. Plus, if you're there with musicians or artists and you watch and support them, talk with them after, hey, maybe they'll be talking about you. Maybe you'll get up on stage with them, or maybe they'll do a shout out for your work. Have your volunteers in the front row. I was at a comedy show last night and it wasn't that funny. But about 20 minutes into the show, a lady came and sat near us, and a couple of ladies there actually came and sat near us, and they started to laugh. And as soon as they started to laugh, everybody started to laugh more. Sometimes people don't know what to do, even when you tell them. So if you have a couple of volunteers in the road, a couple of volunteers that know what you're going to do, or I'll be honest, right here, but Jay. Jay's a fan. Jay's a supporter. I love Jay. And if no one else asks a question, Jay will find one. And it really supports us and it really helps our magic work. Thanks, Jay. And Darko as well. So if I ever ask for questions and it's silent, Darko or Jay, they'll say one. Yeah? This kind of collaboration. Now I'm just noticing the time. We've got about 5 more minutes. We want to talk very positively. We do this thing called pace, lead. So I hope you guys have had a fun day. I know it's about 6:30 p.m., getting close to 6:30 p.m. And I know you guys have had a work day today. So pace, lead. So I know you guys have had a work day for most of you in China. And you know tomorrow's Monday. And I want to let you know that whether you deliberately do it or not, you're going to have a really wonderful sleep tonight. Pace,
Thanks,
sleep.
Adrian.
So when we get to, so when you're at the event, you know, get people's to volunteer, get some people's names. I just saw Russell Brand doing this at the start of his show. He walks around and he pulls out people from the audience and he talks to them and he gets their name. Get people's names and use them. You don't have to have a super memory technique. Meet someone, say their name on the microphone, say the name again, walk around, meet someone else. Grant, hey Grant, do you know that guy at the back? Are you guys related? So get the mind tricks going on and use a few people's names. Make them part of the act. Talk positively. Start pre-framing. You guys are going to love this. You know, you guys are going to experience this thing. You're going to experience this thing where you're going to think about where you were 10 years ago, and then you're going to be thinking about what you're doing at the moment. And I'm going to have you thinking about the future and where you can be doing tours around Europe. Perhaps having a full house, perhaps coming back here next Sunday, you know, because you don't want to be by yourself, developing yourself, when you can be in a community like Motivate. When you can be in a community like Motivate, whatever you want to do in life, it's so much easier for you with our Motivate community supporting you and backing you up. Like that little shuffle, moving from one anchor to the next. Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.